Welcome to the Author Show, where we present new authors and books, from fiction to self-help and everything in between. You'll find it all here. To watch the TV version of our program, visit authorswebtv.com. That's authorswebtv.com. And now, let the show begin.
Hello and welcome back to the show. This is your host, Don McCauley. Today we're welcoming the program author Brian Weimer, and Brian is the author of Nexus. Brian's written 3 books in the Nexus series, all supernatural thrillers. In addition, he's also been a regular contributor for the Examiner Online, writing articles on topics such as alternative news, spirituality and pop culture and entertainment, the paranormal, health and nutrition, and emerging global threats. He's currently at work on a book called The Tempest and Watchers, a Nexus spin-off, as well as other projects. An Alabama native, he resides in Birmingham. Brian, how are you?
I'm very, very good today. How are you?
Good. Let's start with the big question. Tell us about your book, please.
Okay, well, Nexus is a supernatural thriller. The tagline is 2 realms, 1 reality. And that actually tells a good bit about the book, because basically in one of the phrases I like to use is that sometimes the world you can see collides with the one you can't. So Nexus centers a lot around the worlds that are kind of between our world and the world that's invisible and how they both interconnect.
So who did you write your book for specifically?
Well, first of all, as an author, I wrote it for myself first because I was going crazy not writing it because I feel it's very innovative. But aside from getting it out there for myself and my sanity, I wrote it for people who love supernatural thrillers, which mainly tend to be younger people between the ages of 18 and 35. And I've noticed a lot of women are more into supernatural thrillers than men are for whatever reason. So if those are things that they're interested in, that's definitely who the books are for.
Now, could you say there's any type of central message or perhaps underlying theme that you could say runs throughout your book?
That's an excellent question, actually. And there are several themes that run through the book, but being concise with it, there's a strong message of faith and hope, because we all live in a dark world, and that's the real world. That is also the setting for the Nexus series. So there is a strong theme of walking in faith, having hope, despite all of these dark things that are going on around you and these things that you hear and see and bad things that happen, overcoming that and walking in faith.
Now, if you could compare your book with any book out there we might already be familiar with, which book would it be and why?
That is an excellent question as well, and I would have to compare it to probably Stephen King's book, The Stand, which I know is a big mammoth of a novel, but there's so many elements there. The spiritual element, the good versus evil, which is a very, very strong theme throughout the Nexus series. And to a lesser degree, I would probably say a book called This Present Darkness, written by Frank Peretti, if anybody's familiar with that book.
Where did you get the idea for the book?
Well, actually, my inspiration came from so many different things. First of all, growing up, I had a very, very deep love for science fiction and the paranormal and horror and things that weren't so easily explained. And those things, such as the Bermuda Triangle, the UFO phenomenon, so on and so forth. And even shows like The X-Files, Twilight Zone, and all these different things were actually kind of stirred up in my imaginative pot, so to speak. And through the years, they kind of formulated this anomaly, as I like to call it, which has become Nexus, essentially.
How would you describe your writing style?
My writing style is very visual. I'm a visual storyteller because I'm left-handed. I'm right-brained, so I learn visually. So I tend to translate that on the page or on the virtual page, as it may be for Kindle readers. So I love to use a lot of descriptive words that also match visually with something that you might see cinematically in a movie. Because when I began writing, I was writing in kind of a screenplay style, kind of a shortened format. And then through the years, I've learned to flesh that out. So I'm a very visual writer.
Who or what would you say influenced your writing the most?
I would have to say, author-wise, without a doubt, Stephen King. I know that he's the master of horror, but he's a great writer. And his style, especially in some of his earlier books, were just very, very powerful influences, such as Salem's Lot, and as I mentioned previously, The Stand. So Stephen King was probably my primary influence. And to a lesser degree, I would say Dean Koontz, a little bit of H.P. Lovecraft, and some of those good old guys.
So are your characters pure fiction, or do you draw from people you know in real life?
Great question, Don. And I would say it's a combination of both. None of the characters are completely based on any specific person I've known, but there are certainly attributes, there are certainly qualities that I've integrated into the characters from people that I've known through the years, and friends that I've had, and family members, maybe certain personality traits. So yeah, I try not to base the characters solely on any one person and change the names to protect the innocent, so to speak. So
if you had to choose, would you say you're more of a character artist or more a plot-driven writer?
That is an excellent question, and it tends to be kind of difficult to answer because I would say yes and yes to that, basically. And I know it's a bit difficult for me to answer that objectively because I love strong characters and I aim to write strong characters, and I feel that they're very strong, very believable, three-dimensional. You learn what they're thinking, what they're feeling. You connect with them emotionally. I also love plot-driven devices and things that move them, because basically without a plot, people aren't interested in reading the book if it's not good. Or if the characters aren't connectable, if they're not relatable, you also lose readers. So I try to keep both of those as close to being on an equal parallel as I possibly can.
What's been your most rewarding experience since publishing your book?
Well, I would say without a doubt, it would be people buying and reading the book and coming back to me later, either through events that I do or online, and just simply telling me that they love the book, that they got it, that they can't wait to read the next book. I wish I had some more elaborate answer about how I was saving the planet or something, but that has to be the simple truth. And it's those people that the book is basically for, people that read it and really just love it. It just propels them to read more and to want to buy the next book and so on. That's a very, very, very good feeling. That's very hard to compare to anything else.
So based on your experience as a writer, what's the one recommendation you would make to authors just starting out?
I would say without a doubt, and I know people have heard this before, probably more than once, is keep writing. Write, edit, as it's been said before, there's no such thing as writing, only rewriting. And that's so true because it takes time to refine your style, essentially. It takes a while to find your voice as an author, your style of storytelling, your method. Are you going to tell it in the first person, the third person, second person, all these, and after a while, by just writing more and more and more, you're refining, you're getting better, you're learning more, you're incorporating those ideas into your manuscript. So without a doubt, just simply write.
Other than selling your work, of course, is there anything else you hope to accomplish with it?
Other than selling it, basically that it will hopefully make a difference in people's lives. I'm a visual artist, so I love to design the artwork, the covers. As I mentioned before, because I'm left-handed, I'm right-brained, I tend to be a visual person. So that's another realm, so to speak, that I also dabble in. And in terms of the book, just to see the innovative ideas hopefully transcend and see what influence they'll have hopefully on society.
In your opinion, who should buy your book?
In my opinion, I would love to say everybody should buy it, but making that more concise. Lovers of the supernatural, lovers of the paranormal. Younger people tend to be more open to that, and I would say from 18 years old, college age, on up into, I would say, early to mid-30s specifically. People that love good moral stories, people that love good versus evil, and people that love good characters with a faith-driven plot.
Do you have a website?
I do. I've had it up for a couple years now. It's called brianweimer.com. So you pull that up, you'll see a bunch of stuff. The books are located on there, and there's some links to some free reads that people can tap on to read some stuff. That's short stories of mine in addition to books. So yeah, it's just simply brianweimer.com, and that's BrianWeimer.com.
Well, this has been just great. Our guest today has been Brian Weimer, and he's the author of Nexus. Brian, thanks very much for being with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much, Don. I appreciate it.
This is Don McCauley wrapping up another edition of The Author Show. Listen to some of your favorite authors every day, 24/7, by visiting theauthorshow.com. Just click on the book title in the player at the top of the page. These interviews are available to book buyers worldwide on demand. If you'd like to be a guest on the show and feel you could benefit by getting in front of your target audience with a high-quality media interview that'll make a real impact, visit www.theauthorshow.com, fill out the form, and we may be contacting you shortly. Join us here next time for another great book and another exciting author on The Author Show.
Thanks for listening to The Author Show. To contact us, call toll-free 1-877-955-8800. That's 877-55-8800. Or visit theauthorshow.com. Theauthorshow.com. Tune in next time to another great author on The Author Show.